The ego and fantasy are not bad. The ego and fantasy is not a bad thing. It's a vital element of every human being. There's people who believe spiritual elevation means to leave the world behind and leave life behind, ultimately. They think ego death means to get completely rid of the ego. And they transcend from the world of duality into the world of unity. But I think we are living in a world of duality, of real duality of genders, I believe, in women and men. I believe in the left and the right hemisphere in the brain. Um, I had a dream this night, and it led me to understand that maybe I have never been with myself. So, in other words, it's not that a relationship, an encounter, a triangulation, or as Jada Pinkett Smith would say, an entanglement. No, just kidding. With narcissist, psychopath, cluster B, traumatic. No, I don't want to use the word traumatic anymore. Abusive situation, whatever. Not even that. I don't even want to use that term anymore. That this leads to self-abandonment. And we can argue about this, and this is a very useful psychological explanation what really happens. Yes, you can abandon yourself as an empathetic, agreeable person when you try to serve a grandiose, self-centered, unempathetic other person. Of course. But maybe you have never been in a stable version where you were covering yourself up, you're backing yourself up bulletproof, you're self-parenting you. You have that father and a mother within yourself that guard you and guide you and soothe you. You never had that. So it's not that you have self-abandoned you. By the way, I want to change another way that I conduct my message, and that is I speak about me, not about you, because I'm not the savior, I'm not the healer for anybody here. So I never was with myself really. So I did not, there was no self abandonment because I was not with myself from the beginning. Or it was not stable enough. Okay, what I'm trying to say. Um So what happens in these situations of waking up, of the moment when you identify that you are victimized, that you are not um, that you're not equally yoked, that you don't have people around you who can take responsibility or accountability for what they do, and they simply try to predatory They just have predatory and parasitic behavior. So they want to consume, they want to destabilize and um, consume, digest, and devour things that before have been created by low entropy sunlight. I hope nobody understands this. Okay, so it's harder to build up than to destroy. It's harder to grow something instead of consuming it. That's what I'm saying. And you were the person who were putting in the work. I am the person who put in the work. I was the person that created, and other people were consuming that, all right? So this is the moment of you identify yourself as victimized. So there's no need to save anyone there. It's just you have to get out of the situation. I have to get out of the situation. It's really hard to do this. Um, so in this situation that I just described, we also go through something called ego death, and we realize we abandoned ourselves, even though we initially were not covered up stable enough. Otherwise, this would not have happened. And the ego death does not mean that the ego is now dead and now you are that super elevated, egoless, um, ascending superhuman yoga guru. It means something changes with your self perception and your ego. The ego is, in my opinion, the driving force that keeps you vital. Um, this is also why I say that the roles of the victim, when you identify with the victim role, or the role of the savior, when you try to stay in these roles, when you want these roles, when these roles are your place to be and stay forever. Stagnancy means death, by the way. Then you you hide from the ego. You run away from the ego. The savior is pampering other people's ego in order to self-abandon. So the savior abandons himself again, and the victim is also not, you know, standing up and tries to avoid responsibility and accountability, tries to avoid duty, but enjoy the rights and the fruits that it is entitled to gain now. So that's just on a side note. Um, so we leave something behind, and my video, my message will not make you change your ego or your fantasies. You rather unsubscribe. You will rather watch something else. You will rather defend your identity, your ego, and your fantasies. So we need significant experiences to make this happen. Yet again, we need to find our ego. When we go through ego death, we need to find our ego and rebuild it. We also need to maintain our fantasy, even though we realized we lived in fake fantasies and wrong fantasies, maybe. But fantasy is important for for the generation of future, of purpose, philosophy, spirituality, whatever you want is created in your fantasy. It's important, it's vital, it's the juice of life. Choose life. Um, and the dream that led me to this realization or interpretation was I will not go into too much detail, but I was traveling with my daughter in an ancient train, in an old train, in a very adventurous road through many countries. So it was in the train, there were all kinds of people, all kinds of passages. You could meet anyone in any situation. Um, yeah, it was a very surreal experience, such as in my case, most dreams, right, are not very logical. And we were riding through different cities, countries. I saw very many funny things, really. Also, people from my past, and with many realizations about them when I looked out of the train. And there were also interactions with my daughter about where are we now, where are we going, and stuff like that. No, excuse me, please. Um, the final destination was the end of the world. It was a no man's land, but a beautiful nature, a forgotten land with, I think it was mostly equal to New Zealand. And we went there by train. And in this place, there were, the movie Lord of the Rings was done in New Zealand, and they created a lot of sites there for the movie and buildings, probably too. And in this movie, there were the mythical, like fake mythical buildings, like ruins or statues, grandiose mythical ruins. But they were, of course, fake, because when you make these structures for a movie, they are not the same quality as if they were made by a real ancient culture. And this lost unknown paradise country where we traveled to got more famous because of the movies have been made there. So now tourists start visiting these fake monuments and spoiling the nature, and do what humans do. They spoil the place. They leave their waste there. They write down graffitis and stuff. And also this paradise therefore is lost. So if you want to destroy a paradise that tell other people about it. And now my interpretation of this dream was that these were my fantasies, my mystical, magical thinking, my self concepts, my dreams that I had to leave behind, because I realized, and this is very uncomfortable, that they are fake. They were made for a movie, for they were made in my real paradise, which is my imagination, my life, my dreams, but I told other people about it, and they created these fake idols, fake monuments, fake sites, fake stages for their own movie. And I have to leave this behind because it's fake. So we have to abandon these and create something new, maybe more realistic. Um, yeah, so we had these, or I had these fantasies, I had these self concepts, I had my ego aligned with that. It might have been romantic, mystical. Of course, mystical because we all feast from the source of collective subconsciousness, from these archetypal pictures and worlds. Um, yeah, so we make drastic changes in the fantastic concepts that we have and also in the ego. Yet it's how, in many ways, not an absolute change. So we don't reject from now on all fantasy is evil, from now on all ego is evil. That is not true. Ego is vital, fantasy is vital. It's necessary, it's the essence, it's essential to life, I believe. Also, duality, I believe when we want to ascend too much and go into another realm where everything is united and, this unity idea, it's true, everything is in unity. But we are human beings and we're living in a world where things are split apart and then remixed into a beautiful mixture. This is life. This is what we go through. This is how the fabric of life. Okay? You will leave it behind someday. You don't have to work on it in your lifetime. You know, death comes. You don't have to work on it too early. So let's enjoy duality. Let's enjoy ego. Let's enjoy fantasy. But don't get controlled by it or misled by it or, you know, driven away by it. Like, just go full nuts into the fantasy defense or into an inflated ego. This would separate us from the beauty of life as well. Over and out.